The room was quiet except for the low hum of the ship's engines. The human soldier sat on his small bed, his hands moving quickly as he pressed buttons on an old device. The alien girl stood near the corner, her silver eyes watching him with caution. She had been rescued from a slave market only days ago, and though he had promised safety, she still did not trust him. His world was different, his ways strange, and tonight she would discover something that shook her even more. The human smiled to himself, plugged in 2 black speakers, and pressed play. At first, there was a soft static, like broken wind. Then suddenly, an explosion of sound. Guitars roared like thunder, drums hit like falling rocks, and a voice screamed as if it was calling an army to war. The alien girl gasped and covered her long ears with her hands. She thought he had activated a weapon. The floor vibrated, the air seemed to tremble, and the sound was too wild, too violent. She had grown up hearing songs of soft flutes and gentle strings, music that healed and calmed. But this was not music. This was chaos. This was fire. Her heart raced. She pressed herself against the wall, her body shaking. The human did not stop it. Instead, he leaned back and closed his eyes as if the storm of noise gave him peace. She could not understand it. Why was he not in pain? How could he smile while the very air screamed around them? She thought perhaps humans were immune, their ears hardened to torture. Or maybe he wanted to test her, to see if she could survive the madness. Her mind screamed at her to run. The door was locked, but she thought of smashing the control panel with her claws. Yet something strange happened. As the sound hit her again and again, her chest began to thump in rhythm with the drums. Her blood seemed to move faster, matching the wild beat. She wanted to hate it, but the vibrations crawled into her bones, shaking her from the inside. She tried to resist, but her body would not listen. The human opened his eyes and looked at her. He saw her trembling form, her ears pressed tight. But he did not lower the volume. Instead, he asked in a calm voice, "You hear it, don't you?" She did not answer. She was afraid if she spoke, the sound would crush her words. He laughed softly, as if her fear was expected. Then he turned the volume higher. The walls shook harder now. The alien girl thought her fragile ears would explode. She imagined blood dripping, imagined herself falling, broken. Yet when she waited for the pain, none came. Her ears were not destroyed. The sound did not kill her. Instead, a strange fire rose inside her chest. She felt her fingers twitching. Her foot moved slightly on the floor without her command. It was as if her body wanted to join the storm. Confusion wrapped around her. She shook her head violently, trying to deny it. Her people always said humans were savage, that their culture was poison. She had believed it. But now she was caught in the middle of that poison, and it was changing her. The guitar screamed again. Sharper, higher, and instead of fear, a shiver ran down her spine. It was not pain. It was something dangerous, something thrilling. The human leaned forward, his voice raised to fight the sound. "Don't be scared. It won't break you. This is music." Music? She could not believe it. Music was soft. Music was light. This was thunder. This was battle. This was destruction. How could he call it music? But then her body betrayed her again. Her head, heavy with confusion, moved slightly with the beat. She froze. Did he notice? He did. His grin widened. "See? You feel it." She glared at him, her pride hurt. She wanted to shout, to deny it, but the sound stole her words again. The chorus hit, loud and powerful, and she almost gasped at the sudden rush of energy that filled her veins. Her fear and suspicion were being broken down piece by piece, replaced by something she could not explain. Her thoughts turned dark. Was this human trickery? Was this noise some kind of control, a secret weapon that made aliens lose themselves? She clenched her fists and pressed her ears harder. But no matter what she did, the rhythm found its way inside her. The bass pounded like a second heart inside her chest. Every beat shook her nerves awake. Her breathing grew faster. She looked at the human again. He was lost in the sound, his eyes half closed, his lips moving with the lyrics. He looked alive, more alive than she had ever seen him. His body swayed slightly, his fingers tapping on the bed, and she realized this storm gave him strength. He was not just listening. He was feeding on it. The alien girl trembled, but this time not only with fear. There was something else, something new, something that frightened her even more. She wanted to feel what he was feeling. She wanted to understand why this storm of noise gave him peace. Her pride told her no. Her tradition told her no, but her heart whispered yes. The guitars screamed once more, the drums thundered, and the voice roared across the room. She shut her eyes tight, but instead of running, she stayed. She let the sound fall over her like waves, and for the first time she did not fight it. Her hands slowly lowered from her ears. Her heart pounded hard, her breath deep, and though fear still lingered, curiosity grew stronger. The human saw her movement. His eyes shone with victory. He did not say a word, but his smile told her everything. This was only the beginning. She stood frozen in place, caught between two worlds. The one she knew, where music was gentle and pure, and this new human storm that promised something dangerous, yet alive. The room kept shaking, and with every second her fear cracked a little more, leaving space for something else, something she never thought she would feel. She braced herself for pain, her ears waiting for the sharp sting, her mind waiting for the break. But instead of pain, something different happened. The pounding of the drums did not tear her apart. It moved inside her. Her chest rose and fell in rhythm with the beat, as if her body was no longer her own. She wanted to scream, wanted to push the sound away, but a strange warmth began to spread inside her veins. It felt wrong, it felt dangerous, but it was not pain. It was something else, something she could not explain. Her blood seemed to boil, rushing faster and faster, matching the thunder of the music. She pressed her hands tighter to her ears, but the sound slipped through, crawling inside her bones. It was like trying to stop the wind with her fingers. The music found her no matter how hard she resisted. Her heart pounded harder, keeping pace with the drums, and her breathing grew sharp and heavy. She was afraid, but she was also alive in a way she had never felt before. The human watched her from the bed. He saw the way her body moved even though she tried to fight it. A small smile appeared on his lips, as if he already knew what was happening. He leaned closer to the speaker and turned the volume even higher. The sound crashed into the room like a storm, making the metal walls shake. The alien girl let out a small cry, half fear, half anger. "Stop it!" She wanted to shout, but the roar of the guitar swallowed her words. The human did not stop. His eyes glowed with challenge, daring her to face it. His body moved with the music, his head nodding, his foot tapping against the floor. He looked wild, but not broken. He looked free. The alien girl's heart twisted. She hated him for this, hated how calm he looked while she felt her world collapsing. Yet, she also envied him. How could he stand inside the storm and smile? How could he take this chaos and call it music? Her legs shook. She thought they would give out, but instead they moved slightly to the side, almost like they were searching for balance in the rhythm. She noticed it at once and froze, her face flushing with shame. She forced her feet still, her body stiff like stone. But then the chorus hit, louder, stronger, a wave that crashed into her whole body, and she felt her head tilt forward, just a little, in time with the sound. Her eyes widened. She could not believe it. She had moved without thinking. It was as if the music had reached into her mind and pulled her like a puppet. She quickly straightened, her fists clenching so tight her claws dug into her palms. She told herself it was only an accident. She told herself she was still in control. But deep down, a small voice whispered the truth. She was changing. The human's grin widened. His voice rose above the music. "You feel it, don't you?" She glared at him, her silver eyes burning with defiance. She wanted to shout no, but the words stuck in her throat. Her body betrayed her again. Her foot tapped once against the floor, quick and sharp. Before she could stop it, she cursed under her breath, her chest burning with anger and shame. The sound kept pressing, 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 until she thought she would explode. Yet instead of breaking, she felt something building inside her. It was like a fire trapped in a cage, waiting to be set free. Every drum beat was a hammer against that cage. Every guitar scream was a spark against the lock. Her body trembled with the pressure, caught between fear and something she dared not name. Her breathing grew faster, each inhale pulling the sound deeper inside. She could feel her pulse in her throat, in her fingertips, in her ears. It was not pain, it was power. She hated the thought, but she could not deny it anymore. The music was not killing her. It was waking something she had buried long ago. Something wild, something strong. Her claws scraped the wall behind her, leaving thin marks across the metal. She wanted to release the pressure, but she could not. The human leaned back again, his eyes never leaving her. He looked as if he had been waiting for this moment. His hand rose slowly, like a conductor guiding the storm, and when the music reached its highest scream, he pointed at her. The alien girl froze, her chest heaving, her mind spinning. He was daring her, calling her into the storm. She shook her head, her lips forming the word, no, but no sound came. Her throat was dry. The music swallowed her resistance again. The next wave of sound hit. She felt her knees bend slightly, her shoulders loosen. She tried to fight it, but the rhythm was too strong. Her body wanted to move. Her body wanted to answer. Her pride screamed inside her mind, telling her to resist, but her heart beat faster, louder, closer to the drums. It was too much. For a moment, she let go. Just a moment. Her foot tapped twice. Her head nodded once. And in that instant, a thrill shot through her body, sharp and electric. She gasped, shocked by the feeling. It was not fear, not pain, but something powerful, something forbidden. She quickly pulled back, pressing herself to the wall again. But she knew the truth now. She could not unfeel it. The human saw everything. He did not laugh at her. He only nodded, as if saying, "Yes, you understand now." His calm eyes made her heart twist again. She wanted to hate him, but part of her wanted to step closer to him, to his storm, to his dangerous music. The sound raged on, shaking the room, shaking her soul. She stood trembling, her hands half lifted, not sure whether to block her ears again or to let them fall. She was trapped in the middle of two choices, fear or surrender. The music pushed her harder and harder, and she knew one thing. This storm was not finished with her yet. Her people had always taught her that sound was sacred. Music was not supposed to be wild or sharp. It was meant to be calm, soft, and pure. The songs of her homeworld were played with crystal instruments that produced gentle notes floating like air. To them, music was a way to connect with the spirit, to heal the heart, and to bring peace. But what she was hearing now was nothing like that. This human storm of sound was raw, broken, and violent. It clashed against everything she believed, everything she had been told since she was a child. She remembered her elders saying that humans were dangerous because they had no discipline. They made things only to destroy. They shouted when silence was needed, and they created chaos where there should be order. Their songs, the elders had warned, are like their wars, loud, bloody, and endless. She had believed them. She had carried those words inside her, certain they were true. And yet here she was, standing in front of a human who played that exact kind of sound, and she could not turn away. The guitars screamed again, and the drums shook the floor under her feet. She pressed herself against the cold wall, trying to resist. But her head betrayed her. It moved slightly, almost unnoticeable, in time with the beat. The rhythm had crawled into her body, refusing to let go. She froze, shocked by her own betrayal. She had moved. She had allowed the chaos to touch her. Shame filled her chest, but so did something else. Something hotter, something restless. The human saw it. His eyes caught the tiny movement, and his lips curled into a smile. He leaned forward, speaking through the noise. "You're feeling it, aren't you?" His voice was not mocking. It was sure, confident, as if he knew she could not resist forever. She turned her head away, glaring at the floor, refusing to meet his eyes. Her pride told her not to answer, but her silence was an answer on its own. He laughed softly, as if victory was already his. Her mind screamed at her to stay strong. She repeated the teachings of her people in her head. This is poison. This is corruption. This is how humans trick you. She reminded herself again and again, but the words felt weaker every time the music slammed into her. Her claws tapped lightly against the wall without her meaning to. She quickly curled her hands into fists, but it was too late. The sound had reached places inside her she didn't even know existed. The voice of the singer roared like a beast, long and sharp. It should have frightened her, but instead, it pulled something from deep inside. Her chest tightened, her breath caught, and she almost felt the urge to cry out too, to join the chaos with her own voice. She clenched her teeth, forcing it down, shaking her head hard as if to push the thought away. But the idea remained, burning. The human was lost in the music, his body swaying, his lips moving with the lyrics. He was not afraid of the storm. He had become part of it. That was what shocked her most. He was not just listening, he was merging with it. The sound was not breaking him, it was feeding him, making him stronger, filling him with energy. She stared at him with wide eyes, her mind struggling to accept what she saw. Humans were not supposed to be this way. They were supposed to be weak, fragile, broken by pressure. Yet here he was, standing inside a storm of sound, smiling. Her body shivered again, not from fear, but from the strange fire that kept spreading. She hated herself for feeling it, hated the thought that she might enjoy what she was hearing. It was wrong. It was forbidden. And yet, when the chorus hit again, loud and furious, her heart leapt with it. Her feet pressed harder into the floor, and she felt a rush of strength that startled her. This was not supposed to happen. Music was supposed to heal gently, not make her blood run hot. Her thoughts battled inside her head. This is madness, she told herself. This is the sickness of humans. But another voice, softer and more dangerous, whispered, "This is life. This is what they have that we do not." The two voices crashed together like the guitars in the song, fighting for control. She pressed her palms to her ears again, but her arms were weak now, her hands shaking. She could not block it anymore. Her eyes snapped back to the human. He was looking at her again, his smile calm, but his eyes sharp, almost daring her. She felt anger rise in her chest. She wanted to shout, to tell him she would never give in. But the words stuck in her throat, drowned by the next wave of sound. The guitar rose higher, sharper, almost screaming directly at her. Her breath caught. Her heart thudded faster. She wanted to hate it, but her body kept betraying her. Her shoulders loosened without her will. Her foot tapped again. Her head nodded, just once, before she forced it still. But she had felt it. She had felt the pull. The shame was heavy, but the thrill was heavier. Her people had always said humans were weak because they had no control. But maybe she thought that was not weakness. Maybe it was something else. Maybe it was freedom. The idea struck her like lightning, leaving her stunned. She wanted to throw it away, but it stayed, glowing inside her. The music roared again, and she stood frozen, torn between the world she came from and the storm she was being pulled into. The human leaned closer, his voice low but clear through the noise. "Don't fight it. Feel it." Her claws pressed into her palms, her teeth clenched, her body trembling. She wanted to fight. She wanted to stay loyal to her people, to her teachings. But every second the storm crashed against her, her resistance broke a little more. She closed her eyes, shaking her head, whispering to herself that she would not give in. And yet her body moved with the rhythm again, slow and unwilling, but real. The music was winning. And deep inside, where her pride could not reach, she realized she did not want it to stop. The music grew harder, like a storm that refused to die. The guitars screamed louder, sharp as lightning, while the drums hit like heavy thunder striking the ground again and again. The alien girl felt her chest shake with every beat. She pressed her claws into her arms, digging deep enough to leave marks, trying to anchor herself, trying to stop the strange pull inside her. But the sound would not let her go. It was inside her bones now, inside her breath, inside her racing heart. She clenched her teeth so hard it hurt. Her eyes burned with stubborn fire. She would not give in, she told herself again and again. Her people would laugh at her if they saw her like this, trembling to human noise. They would call her weak, broken, ruined by the madness of Earth. She repeated those thoughts in her head, but her body did not listen. The music was too strong, too wild, too alive. The chorus exploded again, louder than before. And she felt her knees bend without her permission. Her body leaned forward, pulled by the rhythm. She froze, shocked at herself. She wanted to force her body still, but then a rush of energy filled her veins. Her blood pumped with such force that she gasped. Her claws released her arms, her hands twitching in the air. It was as if the music was unlocking chains she never knew she carried. The human soldier was watching her closely. He did not say a word this time, but his eyes followed her every move. He saw her fight, saw her slip, saw her struggle. His lips curved into a small smile, not mocking, but almost proud, like a teacher watching a student take the first step. His silence was worse than words. It made her chest tighten even more, made her heart scream at her to resist. She closed her eyes, trying to shut out the chaos. But the darkness only made the sound louder. Without sight, the music was everything. It crashed over her, dragged her under, filled her lungs until she thought she would drown. Her fists shook at her sides, her body trembling with the pressure. And then it happened. A single scream from the guitar cut through the air, sharp and wild, and something inside her snapped. Her foot slammed against the floor in rhythm. Her head jerked forward, her eyes opened wide, glowing with shock. She had moved again, but this time it was not an accident. This time, it was real. The rhythm burst out of her, too strong to hold back. She gasped, her hand flying to her mouth as if to stop the truth. But it was too late. Her body betrayed her fully now. Her shoulders loosened, her claws tapped against her thigh, and her lips parted in a breathless sound she did not mean to make. The music had broken the wall she had built, and she could not put it back. The human leaned forward, his eyes burning with quiet fire. He raised his hand and, slowly, like a master of the storm, he turned the volume even higher. The room shook, the bed rattled, and the air itself seemed to vibrate. She should have screamed in fear, but she did not. Instead, her chest lifted higher, her breathing deep and wild, her pulse beating with the drums as if it belonged to the music itself. She wanted to hate herself for it, but the feeling was too strong. It was not weakness she felt now. It was strength. It was fire. It was freedom. She had never known this kind of power, never felt her body so alive, her spirit so sharp. Her traditions had never given her this. Her soft crystal songs had never made her heart race like this. She felt as if she could run for miles, as if she could fight an army, as if nothing could break her. Her lips parted again, but this time she did not hold back. A sound tore out of her throat, raw and rough, joining the scream of the music. It was not a note of beauty, not a sound of her people's sacred songs. It was wild, uncontrolled, imperfect, and it was hers. For the first time in her life, she screamed without shame, letting the music carry her voice into the storm. The human's smile widened. He nodded once, proud, and kept the music pouring into the room. She was no longer covering her ears. She was no longer pressed against the wall. She was standing tall, her chest rising, her eyes burning with strange light. The fear that had chained her was gone. The thought that this noise would destroy her ears was gone. Instead, she felt stronger than she had ever been. Her claws tapped to the rhythm on her leg, her feet moved lightly on the floor, and her head nodded in time with the drums. She was moving with it now, not against it. Every beat sent sparks through her blood. Every note lit fire in her bones. She was no longer the frightened alien who thought human music was poison. She was something else now, something new. The human leaned closer, whispering through the storm, "Now you see." His words sank into her like another beat, like another guitar scream. She met his eyes, her breath fast and heavy, and for once she did not look away. Her pride still whispered in the back of her mind, warning her that she was falling, that she was betraying everything she had been taught. But her heart drowned that voice out with the thunder of the drums. She no longer cared what her people thought. She no longer cared about shame. The only thing that mattered was this storm of sound, this wild music that had broken her fear and set her spirit free. The human did not need to say anything else. The truth was written on her face, in her movements, in her fire. She was not afraid anymore. She was alive. And the storm of hard rock had claimed her heart. Her chest rose and fell as if she had been running, though she had not moved far from the wall. The music filled every corner of the room, and now it was not a storm to her anymore. It was fire. Her eyes were wide, her breath heavy, and her claws trembled not with fear, but with something that felt like strength. She could not believe it. She had spent her whole life thinking human noise would shatter her ears, that it was madness, poison, weakness. But what she felt now was not weakness. It was power. The drums hit harder, and she felt her heart slam against her chest in perfect time with them. Each beat gave her courage she did not know she carried. Her fear was gone, burned away by the wild rhythm. She raised her head higher, her ears twitching not in pain but in hunger, wanting to catch every sound. Her hands shook at her sides, then slowly opened, her claws flexing as if they wanted to tear through the air. She was no longer fighting the sound. She was feeding from it. The human soldier leaned forward on his bed, his eyes locked on her. He said nothing, but the look on his face told her everything. He had seen this before. He had known she would change. His smile was not cruel, not mocking. It was proud, like he was watching something rare come to life. That pride struck her chest harder than the music. For a moment, she wanted to turn away. to hide her face, but then the chorus hit again, and the music pulled her back into the storm. A scream burst from the speaker, wild and rough, and before she could stop herself, a cry ripped from her own throat. It was not the gentle sound of her people's songs. It was not soft or pure. It was raw, broken, heavy, but it was hers. Her voice merged with the storm, and she felt her entire body shake with the release. She could not believe the sound she had made. Her throat burned, her chest ached, but it felt good. Too good. The human laughed, but it was not a cruel laugh. It was filled with joy, as if her scream was the proof he had been waiting for. He nodded, encouraging her, and turned the volume up just a little more. The walls trembled again, but this time she did not shrink from it. She stepped forward, her bare feet pressing harder into the metal floor, her head moving in rhythm. She was no longer hiding against the wall. She was part of the storm. Her claws tapped against her thigh in time with the beat. Her shoulders swayed slightly. Every part of her was alive. She remembered the teachings of her people. Music must be gentle, sacred, soft. But now she laughed at that thought. What had that softness ever given her? It had kept her quiet, obedient, small. This human music made her roar. It made her strong. It gave her a voice she had never dared to use before. The sound rose higher, the guitar screaming with wild energy, and she felt the urge again. This time, she did not fight it. She opened her mouth and screamed with the music. Louder, longer, stronger. Her voice mixed with the chaos, broken but powerful, and she felt the pressure in her chest burst free. Her claws scratched at the air as if she was slashing invisible chains. Her heart thundered inside her, and the fear of breaking was gone. She was not breaking. She was awakening. Her body shook as the last note of her scream faded, but she was smiling now, her lips parted in disbelief at herself. She had screamed, she had let go, and instead of shame, she felt alive. She looked at the human, her chest still rising fast. His eyes were locked on her, shining with pride, and that pride only pushed her further. The next wave of music hit, and she did not hold back. She moved with it. Her feet tapped hard against the floor, her head bobbed with the rhythm. Her hands moved through the air as if they were conducting the storm. She laughed breathlessly, a sound mixed with wonder and madness, and whispered to herself, "This is not pain, this is power." The human's grin widened at her words. He leaned closer, his voice barely cutting through the roar. "Now you understand." Her eyes flashed as she met his gaze. She wanted to deny him, to say she had not surrendered, but she could not lie to herself. She had felt it, she had embraced it, and now she could not turn back. Her body wanted more. Her soul wanted more. The music drove forward, and so did she. She raised her arms, spread her claws wide, and let another cry escape her throat. This one was stronger, fiercer, filled with fire. The sound ripped through the room, raw and wild, and when it ended, she was shaking from the force. Her voice was rough, but she did not care. She laughed again, wild and unafraid. The human clapped once, a sharp sound drowned by the music, but enough for her to see. She felt her chest swell with strange pride. He had given her this storm, this freedom, and she had taken it fully. Her fear was gone. Her shame was gone. In their place was only fire, only courage. She felt like she could run into battle right now and win. She felt like she could scream down the stars. She felt alive in a way she never thought possible. And when the chorus ended, leaving only the pounding drums and a short silence, she whispered to herself, voice shaking but sure, "I want more." Her eyes glowed as she stared at the human. She was no longer afraid of his storm. She wanted to drown in it, to live in it, to become part of it. For the first time, she understood why humans called this madness music. And for the first time, she loved it. The room felt alive, as if the walls themselves were breathing with the music. The alien girl stood in the center now, no longer pressed against the wall, no longer covering her ears. Her chest rose and fell quickly, her eyes glowing with fire she had never felt before. The human sat back on the bed, watching her with a smile, but she did not even notice him anymore. She was lost in the rhythm, her body moving without shame. Her feet struck the floor in time with the drums, her claws tapped against her thigh, and her head moved up and down to the beat. The storm that had once scared her now filled her veins like blood. Every note made her stronger. Every scream from the guitar pulled another hidden piece of her free. She had thought she was fragile, weak, unable to survive such noise. but now she felt as if she could burn the universe with her own voice. The human leaned forward, his voice raised over the thunder. "Don't stop. Let it out." His words struck her chest harder than the music itself. She opened her mouth and screamed again, a sound that ripped from her throat raw and broken, but full of power. The noise shook her body, her shoulders trembling, but she laughed after it, wild and free. She had never made such a sound in her life. It was not a song of her people. It was not pretty or soft. But it was hers, and it was real. The human joined her, shouting with the lyrics, his voice rough but strong. For a moment, they were not human and alien, not soldier and rescued girl. They were two voices screaming together, drowning in the storm of sound, bound by something deeper than words. She stared at him through the chaos, her breath heavy, and felt a strange warmth rise in her chest that had nothing to do with the music. Her heart pounded in a rhythm too strong to ignore. She moved closer to him, her steps slow but sure, each one in time with the beat. The distance between them shrank, and the storm of music wrapped around them both. She wanted to deny it, wanted to tell herself this was still fear, still madness, but her body said otherwise. She was not running from him. She was drawn to him, just like she was drawn to the music. He did not move away. He simply watched her, his smile calm, as if he had known this would happen all along. His eyes never left hers, even when the guitar screamed again. And in that silence between two beats, she whispered words she did not plan to say. "Play it again." Her voice was rough, almost begging, and it shocked her. She had thought she would never ask for more, but now she needed it. She craved it. The human grinned, turned the dial, and the music hit harder. She gasped, her body shaking with the force, but instead of fear, she laughed. Her laughter was loud, unsteady, filled with wild energy. She danced in small, sharp movements, her body jerking with the rhythm, her claws slicing the air. The human stood now, moving with her, his steps heavy and sure. The room shook with both the music and their energy. She spun once, her long hair flying, her eyes wide with wonder. This was not weakness. This was not shame. This was freedom. She had never felt such freedom in her life. Every chain that had held her before, her people's rules, her fear of humans, her shame at being powerless, was broken by the storm of sound. And it was the human who had given her the key. The music rose again, and they screamed together, their voices raw and rough but united. She felt the sound vibrate through her bones, through her blood, through her soul. She was no longer the girl who had cowered at the first note. She was a warrior now, born in noise and fire, standing unbroken beside the human. When the song finally ended, silence filled the room for the first time in what felt like forever. Her chest heaved, sweat ran down her face, and her throat burned from screaming. But her eyes shone with a strange light. She looked at the human, her lips trembling, and whispered again, "Play it again." This time, her voice carried no fear, no hesitation. It carried hunger. The human laughed softly, nodding, and the next song began, just as heavy, just as wild. She closed her eyes and let it crash over her. Each note was no longer an enemy. It was fuel. She screamed with it again, louder this time, her voice raw but alive. The human's voice joined hers, and together they filled the room with their chaos. Her body moved closer to his until they stood side by side, their shoulders brushing. She felt his warmth, his presence, his strength, and it mixed with the storm inside her. She turned her head slightly, catching his eyes, and for a heartbeat the music felt like it belonged only to them. She realized something then. This storm was no longer just sound. It was a bond between her and him, a bond between two worlds, built on fire and rhythm. She could never go back to the silence of her people's songs now. She was forever changed. She was forever marked by this human madness, and she wanted more. As the song raged on, she threw her head back and screamed again, her voice tearing into the storm without shame. The human laughed and screamed with her, and together they drowned in the music, wild and unbroken, bound not by chains or fear, but by sound itself. The last notes of the song faded, leaving the room filled with heavy silence. Her chest rose and fell quickly, her throat raw, her skin damp with sweat. The alien girl stood in the middle of the room, no longer shaking with fear, but trembling with energy, as if the fire inside her had nowhere to go. Her claws curled and uncurled, her eyes still wide, shining with strange light. She had thought she would hate this human storm forever. But now her lips parted with words that even she could not believe. More, she whispered, her voice hoarse yet hungry. The human leaned back, his grin wide and knowing. He had seen this before, but the moment never stopped amusing him, the moment when fear turned into desire. He reached for the music player, his hand moving slowly as if teasing her. "You want more?" he asked, his voice low. She nodded quickly, almost desperate, her pride forgotten. For the first time in her life, she was not afraid to beg. "Yes, play again." The device clicked, and another wave of sound exploded into the room. This one was faster, harder, angrier. The guitars tore like claws, the drums pounded like falling stone, and the singer's voice roared like thunder. She should have flinched, but instead she stepped forward, her body already moving with the rhythm. Her hands rose into the air, her head shook with the beat, and a wild laugh escaped her throat. She was not resisting anymore. She was embracing it fully. Every beat filled her veins like lightning, making her feel stronger than she had ever been. She remembered the crystal music of her people, the soft flutes, the gentle voices, the songs that put children to sleep. They felt small to her now, weak, empty. This was different. This was life, raw and burning. This was the sound of courage, of freedom, of fire that refused to die. She could never go back. Even if her people called her broken, even if they cast her out, she would choose this storm. Her voice joined the music again, screaming, not singing. She screamed until her throat hurt, but it only made her laugh harder. The humans screamed with her, their voices tangled in chaos. For that moment, they were the same. Two souls lost in the storm, carried by sound, by power, by something greater than either of them. She turned to him, her chest shaking, and for the first time she spoke without shame. "Teach me." He raised his eyebrows, his grin never fading. "Teach you what?" he shouted over the music. "Everything," she screamed back. "Every song, every band, every sound of your world." Her words were wild, her voice broken, but her eyes were sharp with truth. She wanted it all. She wanted to know every corner of this madness called music. She wanted to feel every storm Earth had ever created. The human's laughter filled the room, loud and strong. He pointed at her, nodding. "Then you're mine now. You're not going back." She did not deny it. Her lips curled into a grin of her own, sharp and fearless. "I don't want to go back." Her people could keep their soft songs, their rules, their silence. She had found something better, something that made her alive, something that made her more than she had ever been. The music raged on, and she moved with it, her body shaking, her claws tapping against the floor in rhythm. Every sound was a chain snapping, every scream a wall breaking. She thought of the girl she had been when the music first started, the frightened creature pressed against the wall, covering her ears, whispering that this noise would kill her. That girl was gone. She had killed her with her own scream. Now she was something else. She was fire. She was thunder. She was chaos. And she loved it. When the song ended, she did not collapse in exhaustion. She stood tall, breathing hard, her eyes glowing like stars. She turned to the human again and whispered, "Again." He tilted his head, amused. "You'll burn yourself out." Her grin widened, wild and sharp. "Then let me burn." He laughed loudly, turning the music on once more. And again, the storm filled the room, shaking the walls, rattling the bed, pounding against the floor. She screamed with it, danced with it, laughed with it. She had become part of it, as if the music itself had chosen her. Hours passed, but she did not care. Time had no meaning in the storm. When the final song ended, leaving only silence once more, she stood with her claws shaking, her throat raw, her body trembling, but her spirit blazing brighter than ever. She stared at the human, her voice low but steady. "This is ours now." He nodded, his smile softening, his eyes serious for the first time. "Yes, ours." In that silence, she understood something. Humans were dangerous not because of their weapons, not because of their machines, not even because of their armies. They were dangerous because of this, because they could take chaos and call it music, because they could turn fear into fire, weakness into strength. They were dangerous because they could make others feel it too. Her lips curled into a final smile as she whispered, "Then let the galaxy hear it." And though no sound played, though the room was quiet again, she still felt the rhythm inside her chest, beating louder than her heart, reminding her she would never be the same.